Annually in the UK, there is over 30,000 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests, with 72% of these occurring at home, where access to life-saving equipment like a defibrillator is often limited, leaving a current survival rate of less than 1 in 10. The team at CellAED are on a mission to help boost the chance of survival from cardiac arrest with their groundbreaking portable defibrillator. I spoke with Chief Medical Officer Dr. Stephen Brooks and Chief Communications Officer Luke Starr of Rapid Response Revival, the developers of CellAED, on how they are helping to boost our chances of surviving a cardiac arrest.
Absolutely. My name's Stephen Brooks, and I'm the Chief Medical Officer for Rapid Response Revival, which is the company that manufactures the CellAED. I am also an emergency physician and scientist in the cardiac arrest space working in Canada.
And my name is Luke Starr. I'm a spokesperson for Rapid Response Revival's main business in Sydney, Australia. We are the creators of CellAED, the world's first personal defibrillator.
So CellAED is the world's first affordable, personal, automated external defibrillator. Defibrillators are devices that are used in the event of a sudden cardiac arrest. For those of you who are not familiar with that term, sudden cardiac arrest occurs when the heart stops beating unexpectedly. And within moments of that occurring, people become unconscious, stop breathing normally. And without fast action within seconds to minutes, this is a fatal condition. Important things to try and optimize someone's chances of survival after sudden cardiac arrest are notifying emergency services, starting chest compressions or CPR, and then using a defibrillator. And so CellAED is trying to address a problem in that defibrillators are not often available when sudden cardiac arrest occurs. And most people who experience sudden cardiac arrest just don't get the advantage of a defibrillator on the scene quickly. So that's why CellAED was invented.
Back in 2014, the founder of Rapid Response Revival, Donovan Casey, was studying for his MBA in bed next to his partner, Sarah Walk. And Sarah started making clucking noises. And Donovan realized that she was in strife, she was in distress. And Donovan's got military background, he's got first aid training. He realized that she was in cardiac arrest and he froze. Even with that kind of training, you panic. But he overcame his inertia and he called for help and was able to start CPR. And Sarah was lucky for two reasons. First, that someone was nearby when her cardiac arrest occurred. Second, that the person who saw it happen knew what to do. The third stroke of luck was that there just happened to be ambulances nearby. But it still took them 6 minutes to get to the address and another 2 minutes to reach their apartment. Sarah survived, and she's one of the very few people in the world who do. Globally, less than 1% of people survive sudden cardiac arrest. And something like 80% of all sudden cardiac deaths occur in homes. While Sarah was recovering from her cardiac arrest, Donovan looked to buy an AED and realized how expensive they were and how much like professional medical equipment they were. They weren't really designed for use by someone like them to use in home. And so he and his friends, engineering backgrounds, mathematics background, and in particular, a chap by the name of Errol Tabor, who is an engineer, they set out to try and figure out how to redesign the AED, how to make an AED smaller, easier to use, and much more affordable. And the idea became the CellAED, a personal defibrillator that when you take it out of its case weighs only 290 grams, and Stephen will tell you that happens to be the same weight as a human heart, and is similar in size to a block of chocolate. And at a much lower price point, we are finding that it is starting to make a difference and get AEDs into people's homes.
Next, Luke and Dr. Brooks tell us how CellAED is boosting the availability for defibrillation in the UK and just how crucial timing is when it comes to that access.
In most cases, a cardiac arrest doesn't occur out in public. It occurs in the home. Something like 80% of all sudden cardiac deaths occur in homes, where public access defibrillators rarely reach, and you're unlikely to find a defibrillator in most people's homes. So when we talk about access and how it's going, we talk about how are we reaching into homes. In the UK, we've only just begun. We started supplying CellAEDs to this market only a month or two ago. In Australia, our home country, we started supplying in late 2022. We currently have over 10,000 AEDs in circulation, CellAEDs in circulation, and nearly 60% of those are in people's homes. And for us, that's a win. We've never before seen AEDs in people's homes. And now we find that the households are the majority of people that are adopting this technology. So we're spreading the availability of AEDs. We are helping to boost public access networks while also creating this new opportunity of personal access to fibrillation.
So maybe just to add just a couple of figures to what Luke was saying about public access to fibrillation. For many years, that's been our main tool to try and get defibrillators to people quicker. In many urban areas, it takes between 6 and 8 minutes for an ambulance to arrive after a 999 call. And in rural areas, outside built-up areas, that can become much longer, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour or longer in some areas. And the trouble with that is that when cardiac arrest occurs, for each minute that passes when nothing is being done, like CPR and the use of a defibrillator, the chances of survival drop by about 10%. So 10% per minute. So unfortunately, in this type of emergency, waiting for paramedics to arrive is not adequate. And so our approach to dealing with that problem has been the scheme of public access defibrillation. And with that approach, unfortunately, with conventional AED technology, we just haven't been able to get enough of the devices into the public and really none in people's homes with that approach. And so really it's left up to luck. You have to be lucky to survive cardiac arrest, because essentially you need to have your cardiac arrest within line of sight to a public access defibrillator. And with that, we have less than 15% of people who have a cardiac arrest having an AED used. That's in the public setting. And in the home, it's less than 1%. So to be honest, that's why I've spent my research career trying to figure out new ways of getting people defibrillators when they need them. And when I first learned of the CellAED, I saw that as a major step forward, just as far as changing the technology so that it reduces some barriers to getting more defibs out into our communities.
Dr. Brooks gives us a run through of how CellAED works, and Luke tells us about the sudden cardiac arrest chain of survival.
Right, so essentially a defibrillator is an essential tool in addressing cardiac arrest when it happens. Cardiac arrest can happen for a number of different reasons, but in many cases, it's because of an arrhythmia. So essentially a disorganized, chaotic electrical rhythm that occurs within the heart cells themselves. And when that happens, the heart stops beating properly, stops pumping blood in a forward direction. Defibrillators are used to essentially analyze the cardiac arrest rhythm, detect when it's the right time for an electrical shock, and when it's time, it delivers a small electrical shock to try and end the abnormal electrical rhythm and allow the heart's own normal rhythm to start again. In addition, defibrillators like CellAED also coach people through the essential steps in doing all the other things that are important to optimize survival. So it reminds people, of course, to stay calm, call emergency services, and begin chest compressions. And so I always like to remind people that AEDs like CellAED are not only shock boxes for the purpose of supplying that electrical help, but also they coach people through all the other steps that are important in optimizing survival. And for someone who's not medically trained, as far as, that's not their profession or their job, that coaching can make all the difference, because you might not remember in a panic what to do and when to do it. And the CellAED, like other AEDs, provides that coaching and that support.
There's something that's called the sudden cardiac arrest chain of survival. That chain of survival are the steps that the global resuscitation community agree need to be taken in order to help somebody's life be saved after a cardiac arrest. And the first 4 steps are performed by just a member of the public, an ordinary person. So being able to recognize a sudden cardiac arrest, so recognize that someone has collapsed, is unresponsive and is not breathing normally, so they might be gasping or clucking or not breathing, not noticeably breathing at all, to very quickly call emergency services, so calling 999 here in the UK, and telling them what's going on, to be able to perform CPR, and that really good quality deep CPR of 100 beats per minute, to the tune of Staying Alive by the Bee Gees.
Good trick is to pump to the tune of Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. Do you know that song?
Yes, I do. I love that song. First I was afraid, I was petrified.
No, it's Staying Alive.
Staying Alive by the Bee Gees has long been used to help keep the right rhythm when performing CPR. The chorus, that is, unlike how Michael Scott demonstrates in the US office.
And step 4, best practice, is to apply a defibrillator. Put the pads of a defibrillator onto the chest of the patient. All those first 4 steps, apart from the help being given over the phone by the 999 operator, is performed by someone who is not a medically trained person. They're not a professional. They are just a member of the public. And step 5 is when the ambulance arrives. If those first 4 steps haven't been performed, or they haven't been performed well or in time, the ambulance arrives to somebody who can't be helped. So if you're asking what help does a device like CellAED or any defibrillator offer, it is helping to improve the chances of that person getting the help they need in a timely fashion and at a quality that will lead to a situation where an ambulance, a paramedic, can actually help the person who's had the cardiac arrest.
We asked Luke and Dr. Brooks what challenges the team faced whilst developing this portable defibrillator.
Every step of the way, there are challenges in this sort of technology. When you're creating any sort of complicated medical device, it is going to be, there are challenges every step. When you are creating something that is so different to the status quo, to the existing paradigm, those challenges are significantly amplified. We've done this quite quickly. I mean, we started developing CellAED with gusto from around 2017, raising investment to be able to fund it, and going through all the steps that are involved, and regulatory steps are only part of it, to create such a new piece of equipment that is designed to save somebody's life is incredibly challenging. And I think the founders of this business wouldn't mind me saying that if they knew now what they knew then, knew then what they knew now, about what it's taken to get this far, they probably wouldn't have started. But I think the world should be thanking them that they were ignorant, because if you think about, millions of people die every year. Between 6 and 9 million people die every year following a cardiac arrest. Donovan Casey is one of the only people out of the millions upon millions of family members of people who have died or nearly died following a cardiac arrest, who has not only come up with this idea, but managed to get it this far, where we now have the world's first personal defibrillator available. It's in the world, and they've overcome every challenge that's been placed in their way. One of the biggest challenges we face now, I think, is that now that this is created, the rest of the world needs to catch up in its understanding and its acceptance. And there are many, many people out there who have accepted it. There are many people out there who are working towards acceptance because, we have changed things in such a way that the existing guidelines on how a defibrillator works need to be rethought. And there are people out there who are resistant, and they are actively voicing that resistance. And that is absolutely their right. We hope that over time that we will be able to prove them wrong, and I'm absolutely sure that we will, because in addition to successes and consistent successes of this technology in trials, we are now starting to see it being used in the real world and being used successfully. And so I think what we'll find is that there are always going to be challenges, but we're reaching a tipping point where by inventing this technology, we are going to start to see it become the new paradigm and start to see the world of resuscitation begin thinking less about public access defibrillators being the solution to the problem and start thinking about a combination of public and personal access defibrillators being the solution to the problem.
Yep, go ahead. Well, I was just going to ask you if it would be useful to just frame up what the central innovation of CellAED is all about, just because I think that will shed some light on the challenges of the innovation and bringing it to market and getting it to diffuse into society. Donovan recognized when he was a customer for a product that didn't exist that the problem with conventional AEDs was that they were unaffordable and not very portable. And there was really no product on the market that was specifically targeting lay people in their homes or for use as a personal device that you carry with you every day. And so basically to be able to take what we have as conventional defibrillators and essentially miniaturize them and drop the cost, they've had to create a new waveform. The waveform is essentially the visual representation of how a defibrillator delivers current over time. And the current of a defibrillator is the flow of electricity that ultimately flows through the pads, through the heart, and resets the heart cells. And by inventing a new type of waveform, they've been able to reduce the power requirements and therefore shrink the battery requirement and also reduce the electrical components needed to make a conventional waveform. Essentially, they've made it in many ways more simple. And by simplifying the waveform, we've reduced size and cost. And those things are at the root of then why we hope to be able to get more of them out into the public by reducing those barriers that conventional AEDs faced.
So that just leaves the main question, that being, where is CellAED available to purchase?
So CellAED's available for adoption here in the UK right now. CellAED, CellAED.io, that's CellAED.io, is open. Where because we manufacture this ourselves, we do all of it ourselves really. We also don't have a lot of the supply chain issues affecting AED availability at the moment. So you can have it within the week of ordering one. We also have a membership program called CellAED for Life. So in addition to once you've purchased your CellAED, you have the option of becoming a member where you pay a Netflix-style subscription. And under that subscription, there are a number of benefits, including training and other assistance, including monitoring, remote monitoring of your AED so that someone's keeping an eye on it and making sure it's always ready to go. But as a CellAED for Life member, if you ever use your CellAED or your CellAED reaches the end of its life, which is it's got a 2-year battery, we automatically replace it at no extra cost. And the reason we do that is because we want people, once they've adopted a CellAED, we never want them to be without one. We want them to have a CellAED for life.
If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about the latest health tech innovations, be sure to subscribe to the channel and visit the Health Tech World website, htworld.co.uk.